Welcome back to another live Wednesday training where every Wednesday I go live talking about mindset, health, wealth, relationships, fatherhood, all the things that are going to make you a more well-rounded father, husband, and a man so that you can go back into your families and your communities, not only living the highest version of yourself, but you can be a better leader for your community. Now, this week's training, we're going to be talking about women and what you can give your man that he actually needs. Now, if you remember, this is part 4 of a 5-part series of a training that we're doing called How to Build a Complaint Free Relationship. If you missed any of the last 3 trainings, go back and watch those videos. We covered some big topics. The first one, we talked about the 4 stages of every relationship and why most couples break up. The second video, we talked about polarities, why opposites attract. The last video, we talked about men and what they want. They need to give their women that they actually need, not what they think that they want, but what they actually need. And this week, we're going to be talking about women and what they need to give their man that he actually needs, not what they think that he wants or needs. And then tomorrow, next week, we'll be talking about actually how to put it all together and what is the living complaint-free blueprint in your relationship or in your marriage. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I'm a coach, best-selling author. I was a former first responder for 15 years, and I'm married with 2 beautiful kids, 10 and 6, and I've been with my wife for 15 years. And for 10 of those years, they were pretty tumultuous. They were rocky, they were unsteady, and we both had a chance to throw in the towel. I think the D word was thrown around numerous times, but we fixed it, and we did it rapidly, guys, within just 3 months after 10 years of living an unconscious life. And so I know it's possible for you, and that's why I'm on a mission to help other men build unshakable marriages and deeper connection with their kids. So if you're interested in learning more about any of my programs, there's free ones, there's paid ones, or if you just want to connect with me one-on-one for a couple minutes and see what it would be like to work together, then just simply drop me a comment or shoot me a DM and we'll talk more. Now, let's talk about this week's training, okay? Traditionally, a man's success at work is what earned his partner's love, right? Now, let's just do a quick recap before we jump into this week's training. Now, first of all, we know that women, they need more personal love, right? But men, now we know that women, they need more personal love, where as a man, he just needs to feel successful in a more personal way. It's very nuanced, but we're going to get into it in this training. Now, traditionally, we can look back and we can see that a man's success at work, that's what earned his partner's love. Fulfilling a woman's need for financial support, that is what gave his life and his hard work meaning. That was his sense of mission, his higher purpose. But nowadays, that's completely changed. When a woman no longer needs or depends on a man's money or his success, his life suddenly has less meaning. It becomes meaningless unless he learns how to create a relationship that breaks that paradigm. And this is the kind of relationship that a man can fulfill his need or his sense of mission and purpose by providing the personal love that a woman needs in order to cope with stress. So when a man can fulfill this, he feels more successful, and that lowers his stress hormones. And guess what? His testosterone goes way up, which is huge right now because there's a huge masculinity testosterone crisis. We're seeing it. Obviously, there's toxins and toxicities, but I think also what's going on in the world and just relationship. So for women, now that you know that being seen as worthy and successful in your eyes is a huge motivator for men. So if you can show him this appreciation more regularly, you're going to be able to create a long-lasting relationship. And this probably seems a little counterintuitive to women that are out there that might be listening because often they feel that their partners don't appreciate them. And so almost every woman who's unhappy in their relationship, they will emphasize this over and over again. I hear it all the time. And in most cases, it's true. He doesn't appreciate her as much as she would like. But what she actually needs to lower her stress and feel happier in the relationship is more of his respect. Now, men, on the other hand, when a man feels disconnected from his heart and he becomes angry or becomes mean, he almost always demands more respect. But what he really needs to feel happier in the relationship is more appreciation for his actions, for his ideas, for his sacrifices, and his efforts. So women doing more for us is not necessarily what we want, which is why you always feel tired of all the things that you're doing. I cook, I clean, I take the kids to soccer practice, I pick them up. I'm doing everything. I work. And then I'm trying to be here for you, and it's just never enough. But all we really want, we just want to be appreciated for our acts. It's almost, I always think of it like we're very simple. It's just like a dog, like petting the dog, good doggy, good boy. That is how simple most of us guys are. And so for women, if they can appreciate us more and men respect women more, that's it. That is the simple formula for success if you want to have a long-lasting relationship. Now the real question is, okay, Joel, great advice, but how do I actually do that though, right? Well, I'm going to share with you some examples, some real life examples, so you can actually put this into your life and into some context. So here's a couple of ways. Now, for women, when you're sending us messages by communicating that you trust that we're doing our best, that even though we're not perfect, you still accept us as we are. And when you recognize our success and you appreciate our efforts, even when we don't reach the highest of expectations, that is the love that men need most, to feel personally successful in their relationship. Now, a woman's love can help a man not only feel fulfilled in the moment, but it also makes a big difference. But it also makes him want to make a bigger difference in the world. And that's why it's so powerful to have this unified bond, because that man's going to go out and accomplish even more. And when a man doesn't have this concrete proof that he's earned a woman's love by providing some kind of meaningful support in her life, his life has no meaning. It's almost like just baking bread and just no one eats it. And I know this because my wife makes bread for us at home. So if she were to bake some amazing thing and all of us just didn't eat it, it's like, what's the point? And what we see often is most couples, they get stuck in this chicken and egg scenario, right? She gives more, he gives less. She resents him, he gives even more less. And in this example, the question is, does his lack of support cause her resentment? Or does her resentment cause him to give less? Well, the answer is they're both true, right? And I want to hit on this point of resentment because I see this a lot with women out there. They tend to harbor a lot of resentment in men, and it breeds and it festers over time. More so usually than men, and from what I've typically seen. Now, I want you to think about this, because for a woman to awaken a man's heart so that he can respect her more, she needs to focus on her ability to receive his love by letting go of all that resentment. And the most important lesson that men can do is something that a lot of them who've gone through boot camp, they're taught this, and it helps them find their masculine strength. It helps them find courage. It helps them find their inner power, their respect for others. And think about this. When you were in boot camp, men, you probably hated your drill sergeant, but guess what? You learned to respect his orders. You saluted the rank, not the man. And in many cases, your marriage is the same thing. There is going to be times that she's going to criticize you. She is going to make you stand at attention. She's going to criticize your leadership. And it's your job in these moments to respond without any attitude or any complaint. And you just want to sit there and say, yes, sir. No, ma'am. Now, it's not always going to be that extreme for you guys, okay? But what I'm telling you is you have to do this in the beginning. You have to establish leadership. And the more that you can strengthen in this respect muscle by following the communication formula, something that I outlined in the last video, so go back and watch it if you haven't, you're going to earn that respect. And when you're fully present and you're listening without any attitude, without any complaint, and you don't interrupt your wife when she's talking, again, you increase that respect muscle. And this benefits you guys, but it also increases your inner power because you come from this point of, I can take anything. I can suffer more than anybody. And a woman's appreciation of a man allows him to respect her more. So we see how these two tie in together. There's this duality of respect, and I also tied it in with resentment for the women's side. Now, I want to talk a little bit about loving acceptance, okay? This ties in with that resentment piece as well, okay? This means for women to have greater acceptance for all of our imperfections. Now, when a woman's complaining or she's rejecting us, nagging, criticizing, she's disapproving, it's much harder for a man to feel her acceptance of him. And acceptance doesn't mean that you're not correcting or trying to improve someone. It's just simply saying you're not trying to change your partner. Acceptance to a man may sound something like this. Hey, it's not a big deal. Next time, would you just give me a call when you're going to be late? Often guys don't hear that. Instead, we hear things like, I can't believe you did that. Or, why can't you remember? You didn't think to call when you're going to be this late? Now, from his perspective, he's just been punched in the stomach. This implies the message that he's not good enough. He's unworthy. He's not living up to your demands. He's not following through. He's not being appreciated. Therefore, he has no tie-in with his core value, which is being worthy, showing up for you, and being of value. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that a woman can't ask for more support or that she should just be some kind of doormat. Okay. Obviously, certainly she can ask for what she wants, right? But her requests work best when they're not backed by complaints or a list of unhappy feelings. And so there's two things that women should not do unless they want to just piss their man off. Number one is offer unsolicited advice. If he's not asking for advice, then her attempts to give advice imply his way is not good enough. And the second way is by worrying so much about him that she becomes stressed. This leads to him becoming stressed, defensive, and even angry. So both unsolicited advice and excessive worry imply that she doesn't trust him. And because trust is one of man's primary needs, her caring actually makes him feel less. Now let's talk about trust. Trust does not mean that believing that he is perfect or that he's always right, but it's about trusting that he has positive intentions. He needs to get the message from her again and again and again that when he shows up, his best is good enough for her. So if you want your man to give you more, then give him more trust, give him more acceptance, give him more appreciation. And that concludes the training, guys. I want to make a quick announcement. My app, the Limitless Fathers app, just hit the app stores today. So it's in Apple, Google. There's a free version of the app as well as I think a $7 version, which includes access to the communication module, which is in one of my high-level courses, which is probably the number one pain point or pitfall in most relationships, their communication breakdowns. So definitely want to scramble and grab that one. It includes access to a community of men, including myself in there, and we're offering advice and solutions and accountability and challenging each other. There's also a 3-day free course, and the Elite Dad Habit Stack is in there and much, much more. So if you want to learn more about my community of men and just working with me more on a one-on-one basis, or if you're a couple looking to fortify your bond and build an unshakable marriage together, then comment or just DM me and we can set up some time to connect with myself and my wife, Nini, as we also do couples coaching as well. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you next week for the next new training.